I'm getting super freaking antsy because E3 is going to be so much fun this year. My appointments are just a star-studded list across the board. I cannot wait to see the surprises. I cannot wait to see the reveals. I cannot wait to play what we already know will be there. It's going to be glorious. But there are some games that I'm worried about, that I'm nervous of how they're going to come together and if they are going to live up to the hype and be able to deliver a truly awesome experience. So here are 6 games that I'm kind of worried about as we head into E3 2018. What's going on, everybody? It's Ghost Robo. Let me know in the comments down below if there's a game you're worried about. And it's not to say that these games won't be good or even great, and some of them on the list are some of my most anticipated, but something about them makes me nervous, and I will be crossing my fingers when they finally come on stage and show what they're all about. Let's start out with the obvious one, and this one kind of proves true based on all of these sources, and that's Crackdown 3. People are saying the game is delayed to 2019. I was worried about it last year when I played it. It just didn't seem, I don't know, it felt like a game of the past. It didn't get me excited. It's been so long. I know it's got to be such a struggle over there. They want to do well. They want this game to be big and bombastic and awesome, and it's just, something's just weird with that one. If it is in fact delayed, like the sources are saying, that's a bummer for fans, it's a bummer for Microsoft, and I wonder what the heck they're going to replace Crackdown 3 in 2018 with. So this is like a double worry, because I'm worried about Crackdown 3, you know, can it even muster any excitement in 2019? If that, what do you do with that? A game that's been delayed that much and is based on a franchise that I feel was very much a product of its time. I don't know. And maybe they can work some magic. But then also, what do they fill it with? Do they have anything that's ready to go? You know, is Gears 5 ready to go? Do they have something Halo that is ready to go? Or are they going to be pretty barren besides Forza for the rest of the year? We'll have to find out. The next one on the list is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, I love me some Tomb Raider remake trilogy, but I'm worried about the game releasing later this year in that it hasn't evolved much. And it's, for better or worse, probably a product of some of the single-player games I've played as of late. You know, you look at how dynamic and absolutely epic games like Horizon and God of War are. Can Shadow of the Tomb Raider keep up with that? I think the formula is a strong one, and it was very fun the first time around, but here is what's needed if your formula is not going to be super leading edge. You need a really great story, and that's something that I feel that the 2 preceding Tomb Raider titles have not done that well. You know, there's some interesting moments, there's some characters that people like, but they hit a lot of the same beats. I did not like that in Rise, sort of the main villain slash paranormal thing was very similar to the first game. I hope they have something brand new up their sleeve. You know, this is supposedly the game where Lara really comes into her own and all that jazz. Maybe they can knock it out of the park, but if the gameplay is going to stay mostly the same, then I hope that their narrative delivers. And if their narrative is going to be passable slash average, then I hope they've evolved the gameplay. And I don't know what that means for that game. It seems like the structure is pretty established. It just doesn't deliver as much in the emotion department, I feel, or maybe even in the set piece department as like an Uncharted 4. And Uncharted, you know, is guilty of maintaining the same gameplay over and over. And I love those games to death. But it's because they do bring the other side of the equation in that third-person shooter realm, which is really strong plot and really lovable characters. So I think Shadow of the Tomb Raider needs to step it up in some way. If it is just a third version of the first 2 games, it's going to be kind of hard for me to get really pumped for. I love Tomb Raider. I love the concept. I just want them to up it like 7 notches. The third one is Anthem, and a lot is at stake for this game in so many ways. First off, it's the most exciting thing EA has. Second off, it is their chance to really redefine their relationship with players and consumers after the Battlefront 2 debacle. And thirdly, it is BioWare's maybe last hurrah. They could vault themselves into a very strong position once again, or they could find themselves on the brink. And I hope that Anthem is awesome. It's really sort of hard to peg what exactly is going to happen. It is a big, open, loot shooter Destiny style, right? But how do they differ from Destiny? How do they evolve beyond what Destiny has established? At this point, Destiny, you know, it's been there. I don't think that 2 is really anywhere near as beloved as 1. You know, they're trying to do some new things, they're going to do some new modes, they just established another yearly pass, an annual pass. But Destiny 1 came out in 2014, so when Anthem launches, it'll be 4.5 years since Destiny. So what do you do in that genre that is very different and very cutting edge? You know, how are you better and bigger and more badass, to quote the famous line in the beginning of 2019, for your space future looter shooter than something that was done nearly a generation ago? And I hope that they figured out that magic. I'm very curious to see how much story and dialogue plays into this game. You know, we know that that's the crux and the roots of BioWare, but do they eschew that in favor of a much more action-heavy experience? I think the main things that I want to see are a really strong loot system that doesn't feel like it's bullying the player, and that it has epic, awesome rewards for your time investment. I want to see a lot of variety and not repetition, and I want to see a depth of gameplay that doesn't make it feel like, hey, this is a one-ability MMO with really great gun mechanics. And I hope that there is a lot of mission diversity. I hope it almost... I don't know, like, I want the single-player campaign to be really strong. I want the narrative to be strong. I'm asking a lot here, but I think that they have set themselves up for this game to be very defining for so many people in that company and in that studio and in that publisher, and also just for their E3 show, EA Play. Like, they've already revealed Battlefield 5. You know, we know about the sports stuff. They're, as far as we know, quiet on the Star Wars front. This has to hit it hard, and I really hope that it does. It could easily be my game of the show, because I wanted to love Destiny so bad. It misses the mark for me in a few key ways. Anthem could correct that, but I'm a little shaky. Is a weird one, and it is Spider-Man. Now, everyone loves this game, and I think it looks awesome. From a visual standpoint, from how they're capturing the character, from the promise, it's perfect. It's releasing soon, but I still, like, I'm still grasping at what is the structure of this game large scale. You know, over the course of a 12-hour adventure, or whatever it ends up being, are there a lot of indoor environments? Are there a lot of narrative and linear-based missions? Or is it mostly swinging through the city? I don't know why, but I have this fear in my head that it's going to be a task and an errand-driven open-world game with some cool combat, and I hope it leans much more Arkham than that. I've heard that it does. I've heard good things. I don't know many people have played it. It wasn't playable at E3 last year as far as I'm aware, and hopefully it's got to be, right? The game's out in 3 months, so hopefully we get our hands on it. Hopefully we get to see maybe a deeper demo that showcases more than mechanics and overall you know, plot overview, and a little bit deeper into like a mission or a boss battle or how that goes. We've seen very cinematic quick time event type sequences. We've seen open world swinging. We have seen, you know, chase sequences. We've seen combat, but what is sort of the meat and potatoes of the mission structure of the gameplay that's going to kind of take you through these story beats? I'm slightly worried that it's not as focused as I would like. And maybe some people do want it to be more open. I look at Sunset Overdrive, and that was a phenomenal experience that was very, very open. There weren't really any indoor sections. I mean, there were a few where you'd step inside for a cutscene or whatnot, but there weren't these large-scale, long missions. So much of that was about movement. Spider-Man is obviously so much about movement as well, so maybe they just have a really great grasp on how to do things without that linear focus, but I love the Batman Arkham thing so much. I would love for them to do more of that with Spidey, and especially since Peter Parker is playable, like, I hope there's some really cool sequences and really cool missions that deviate from the traditional swing, save, errand, mission complete formula. The Division 2, again, it kind of falls into the same thing as Anthem of, like, you got a chance to do something really great here, and people found fun in Division, even though it was not my cup of tea, and even though I found it to be boring in a lot of ways. A lot of people got really into it. They liked the competitive aspect of the Dark Zone and some of the events that they were able to pull off throughout the game's life cycle. Now they're doing it again. How can you make Division 2 exciting? How can you take sort of this drab Apocalypse City and make it fun and make loot great? Like, to me, that's such a challenge for so many of these games. Like, how are you going to make that loot loop really enticing? How are you going to make the gear awesome? How are you going to make it unique and creative? Because I quickly burned out on a new vest, a new beanie, a new machine gun. It's fine if you want to keep this sort of the grounded looter shooter. You want to keep this the realistic one that's more, you know, real world. But then what are you going to do mechanic-wise or RPG-wise to really expand and really still make it interesting and exciting? You don't have to have crazy lasers to make things super fun. So you got to just, I think, find ways, gameplay, story, and world to expand and dive deeper, and carve out some, you know, cool gameplay ideas and some mechanics that are unique and not just so bread and butter, if you will. Again, Division was a game I really wanted to like, and I did for the first few hours. Just found it so repetitive. I'm not ruling out that they decide to like throw aliens into the mix or something crazy. I don't think they will, but that is a possibility. Ubisoft ends up delivering very solid products, and I hope that they're able to double down on what the Division did well. I'm sure there'll be some sort of mass multiplayer battle royale type thing, but I hope from a more campaign-focused aspect, they are able to, like I mentioned, the Anthem, expand, deepen, and entice with cool loot, cool systems, and reasons to play that don't feel repetitive. My final game on the list is more of a personal one than anything, and that's The Last of Us 2. I don't doubt the quality of the game. I don't doubt that it's going to be incredible. I just feel weird because the first one is so freaking great, and it was such an incredible, moving, and memorable experience for me. It's hard to top that. I felt the same way after playing Bioshock. Like, how do you do that again? Yes, I want more in this franchise. Yes, I want more in this series. But how are you going to one-up yourself? And, you know, different people will argue that Bioshock never one-upped itself. And The Last of Us may be in the same boat. I think here, I really want to see a change or an evolution in gameplay. It's, again, a lot of these games are like similar things. My fears and worries are the same in terms of stagnation, especially as we move towards the end of this generation and into the year 2019 and the year 2020. I don't know when The Last of Us 2 will release. Some people have rumored like an open November slot for maybe a game like Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima or something all, you know, different altogether. It's probably a 2019 game. It's probably a mid-2019 game. I hope it feels like that. You know, again, The Last of Us, remember, is a last-gen game, so how do you step it up? I think some people really saw the ways in which they evolved Uncharted. You know, they tried to give more freedom in some of those bigger areas. They tried to make the set pieces even more awesome. They varied up the landscapes and gave you constant, like, just hit after hit of adrenaline and visual awe, and they can do that with The Last of Us. But are you going to deepen the RPG systems? Are you going to add more survival elements? Are you going to add more crafting? Are you going to refine the gunplay? The multiplayer is something I'm super hopeful that they keep in, and I think they will. They obviously did with Uncharted. I loved Last of Us multiplayer. It wasn't the smoothest, it wasn't the greatest, but it did something different, and it felt unique enough while also maintaining quality that I loved that. I thought it just really hit a great spot, and I know a lot of people are down on The Last of Us shooting, but I actually kind of like the mechanics there, and I hope they can just expand and improve. I personally would like to see more of that survival stuff, more of that crafting stuff, really kind of take things further, and I wonder what they're going to do to mix things up. I feel like the statute of limitations is kind of up on Last of Us, so character swapping was really cool, at least for the portion of the game that it happened. Do they do that again? What is sort of their big twist this time around, and how do they sell this game so it doesn't just feel like more Last of Us? I know a lot of people just want more Last of Us, but I feel like the best way... Look, here, I'll say this. I loved Bioshock Infinite much more than Bioshock 2 because it did something... It flipped it completely. And yes, Bioshock is a franchise that has more leeway in terms of how much separation you can put between the games and the storylines, and Last of Us doesn't have that luxury. But I do hope that it feels like a different experience and evolution rather than just a direct sequel. Is that weird? Most people might just want a direct sequel, but I'm really big on like these games changing. I think God of War was such a defining moment for me and an experience. I'm like, this game is so polished and so perfect in so many ways, and it's able to combine so many systems. And yes, there is beauty and simplicity, but if God of War can do it so good, like what other studio is going to step to the plate? And I'm kind of jaded right now because of God of War and Horizon and Detroit even. I know some people don't like David Cage's work, but I felt that the game was phenomenal, and it's really tackling things in a tricky and cool way, and I just want these games to really level up. Level up, please. So I will have my fingers crossed. I will be a little bit nervous when Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Crackdown 3, Anthem, Spider-Man Division 2, and Last of Us 2 reveal themselves at E3. Hopefully they all can deliver. If we can get 5 of these to work out, that would be great. I don't know about Crackdown. I'm still cautiously optimistic about Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but come on. Anthem, Division, Last of Us, Spider-Man, if they can pull through, that's going to be awesome. And that's a really strong E3. I contend that this is still going to be an absolutely epic E3, and I hope that you'll join me. I'll be posting a lot of content, a lot of videos. It's going to be kind of a different plan this year than the past. Most years, just like all trailers. It's going to be much more like curated videos and impressions and gameplay and stuff like that. So I hope to see you there. Let me know what game you're worried about. If you're worried about any of these, hopefully you don't get too mad that I picked some big titles. I still think they can be great. I'm just a little nervous, and I really hope that they deliver. It's more of a hope, right, than a negative. It's more of like a positive worry, like a, oh God, I hope they win. Kind of like how I feel with the Lions every single week of the NFL season. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I love you. Drink so much chocolate, and until next time, we will see you all later.